Thanks for checking out this video. So this is the overall kind of wrap-up video for the 1970s horror movie superlative series I've been doing with your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete. By this time, you know the drill. I have his channel linked in the description. Go ahead and go to his channel after you finish this video. Get all of his picks for this final overall pick situation, and then come back to my channel. Go to the community tab and vote on whose picks you like the most. Now, just a reminder, this isn't just one pick for the overall. This is one pick and then kind of like the ultimate pick and then the runner-up pick. So you'll get 2 picks for each of the categories, and this was hard. One of the main rule was that we could only use films we had already picked in each of the years as being our pool to pick from for the ultimate ones. So this should be interesting. I actually have some of these, so I'll show you those like I've been doing, but I don't have all of them, or actually a lot of them. But let's get into it already. Most amazing. This one was very hard. I was between 2 films for the 70s, and I'll give you my justification for my first choice, and that is going to be Jaws. Now, the reason I gave the edge to Jaws is because not only is it a phenomenal film, and I talked about it at pretty decent length for the 1975 Superlatives video, there's so much great about it. It's so technically extremely well done. The story really works. The main reason I gave this the edge over the one that I have for the kind of runner-up spot is because it's hard to make a movie this good about a shark. Let's be honest. Whereas my runner-up, it's just naturally more interesting of a story, so that's the slight difference I had. But the movies are very, very close. So Jaws is my number 1 pick from 1975 for most amazing, and that leaves my runner-up as Alien. It was, like I said, it was very, very hard. Obviously, Alien, also from a technical standpoint, a phenomenal film, and I could see Uncle Pete picking it as his number 1 for the 70s. I really, really could. So, yeah. Alien is a great one. I'm not going to talk at length about these films because I already did that for all my other videos that I did when I originally picked them. So I'll just give like a little bit and then kind of move on. And this one's from 79. Alien from 79. That's my runner-up. So now for the best so bad it's good category. My winner, also from 1979, Microwave Massacre. That movie is so terrible, but it's so amazingly terrible. I can't believe it was so long before I have actually seen that film for the first time. If you have not seen Microwave Massacre, it is horrendously, ridiculously bad, and it is so much fun. There's so much to laugh about. And if you want to know more about these films, you can just go to the year that they were from for the Superlatives videos, and I talk more about them during that one. So that's my winner, Microwave Massacre. My runner-up from 1975, The Giant Spider Invasion. Such a horrible film that it got the riff tracks treatment, and that makes it even more funny, but it's very funny on its own, like how terrible the practical effects are. Literally like a giant spider on top of a car being driven around. The acting is terrible, all that stuff. Same with Microwave Massacre. It's just a little bit, it just didn't get to the level of laughs that I got out of Microwave Massacre. But The Giant Spider Invasion, a wonderful runner-up for it. So that's that. Those are my picks for best so bad it's good. Now to the most WTF category. Probably not much of a surprise for people. My most WTF from 1977 is the Japanese film House. What more can you say about this? I said a lot about it when I originally picked it. It is wacky, wacky, wacky. It's funny intentionally and wacky, weird. So many odd choices in this film. It is so all over the place. If you watch this film for the first time, there's no way you will ever understand where it's going to be headed. It's a ride you just kind of buckle in for, and you're just there for it. It takes you on this crazy ride. Some people may really hate this film. I think it's awesome. I think it's a great WTF film because you will just be saying WTF constantly. That's my winner for the most WTF. My runner-up is Blood for Dracula from 1974. And the reason for that one is Udo Kier's performance in that film is very over the top. It's very odd, but you can laugh about it a lot. There's a lot of really weird stuff going on in that film as well from a choice standpoint. And there's a kind of out of nowhere like dismemberment that happens in the film that actually looks kind of cool. It's one of the highlights of the actual film, but it really kind of comes out of nowhere. A lot of stuff comes out of nowhere, and it's a very WTF film. So that's why it's my runner-up. So that's my category for most WTF. Now, going for best gore. I am going to give best gore to the 1979 film Zombie by Lucio Fulci. I mean, the eyeball scene alone should probably be enough to give it the win, but any kill looks very gory. The practical effects look very good, and it's not just that; it's the way those are shot. Like the scenes are shot, like they just have so much intense, gory impact that it works extremely well. And I just looked at everything else I had picked, and I felt like Zombie is the clear winner for the 1970s. It's a wonderful best gore pick. So that's my best pick, and the runner-up will be, probably not a big surprise because it's in the name, The Wizard of Gore from 1970. I mean, like I said, it's in the name. I was between Bloodsucking Freaks and The Wizard of Gore for the runner-up, but I think The Wizard of Gore gets it a little bit more. They're very similar film-wise, but like how unflinching the film is with all the gore that it has going on with like eyeball gouging and stuff like that. And you do need to consider that like things have come pretty far since, it's 9 years later that Zombie was done. So for 1970, those practical effects were crazy. They were shocking. They were very gory. They were very messed up. So that's why The Wizard of Gore is my runner-up for that category. So that's best gore. Going to the most unique, from 1977, the winner has to be Eraserhead. Wacky, very good, artsy, personal film by David Lynch, which I feel like is every David Lynch film, but it is extremely unique. You could see it as a most WTF film, but unbelievably unique. So many weird, crazy things happening. It's a very personal story about him kind of like dealing with fatherhood and the fears involved with that. And it works. Like, it's actually a pretty decent enough film. Weird enough to the point, though, where I don't really want to rewatch it again. But it is my winner for most unique. And then that leaves the runner-up slot from 1975, The Rocky Horror Picture Show. Not only was The Rocky Horror Picture Show a horror musical that had wonderful music, had people very engaged, and had awesome performances, including, obviously, Tim Curry, Meatloaf, Susan Sarandon, I believe. Great performances in it. But it was also a queer culture film in a time that wasn't very accepting for queer culture. And that's why it's become such an important film as the decades have gone on. And it's a really unique film from that time frame, and it really holds up. It's still a lot of fun. It's still a great film. It is unbelievably unique for its time, and that's why it's the runner-up slot for me for most unique category. So Rocky Horror Picture Show from 1975. Now we're going to the most overrated. My winner for most overrated is going to be The Legend of Boggy Creek from 1972. The film is very boring. It is like that documentary style where you do think it's going to be a documentary, and then they throw in that ridiculous, like, Sasquatch attack sequence that just, like, you're just shaking your head. Like, I understand that people like this film. That's fine if people like it. For me personally, I think it's extremely boring. I don't understand why people like it as much as they do. Enough said. Legend of Boggy Creek, my pick for most overrated for the 70s. Runner-up for that is 1976's The Town That Dreaded Sundown, because similarly with The Legend of Boggy Creek, it is a slow, boring movie in my opinion. I understand that there's like a bit of a tension to it because there's like a killer on the loose in this town, but for me the pacing is terrible. There's not enough that actually happens in the film. It's kind of boring, and I've seen a lot of people who love this film, and I just don't understand it. Once again, cool that you like it. That's great. For me, I just don't get it. So those are my picks for most overrated. Now that leads me to the final category, which is one of my favorite categories. Actually, probably my favorite category. Most underrated. My winner for most underrated film in the 1970s is the 1976 film Burnt Offerings. For as much as people talk about the Amityville Horror, and that was one of my picks for most overrated, people don't talk about Burnt Offerings, which is a pretty similar type film, but done way better in my opinion, with really good performances. It is a very interesting story executed in amazing fashion. Not enough people have seen it. I don't see people ever talking about Burnt Offerings, and I think it's severely underrated. It is obviously my pick for the most underrated for the entire 70s. Do yourself a favor if you haven't seen Burnt Offerings, especially if you like Amityville Horror even a little bit, watch Burnt Offerings. It is so worth it. I mean, Oliver Reed's performance alone is worth it. Wonderful film. So then you would ask yourself, what's your follow-up? What's the runner-up for most underrated? And that's going to be Brian De Palma's Phantom of the Paradise. Another musical film in the horror genre from the 70s, so also unique in a sense. But it's taking off of Phantom of the Opera, but it's doing its own thing. It's kind of got this tongue-in-cheek thing about the record industry, at that time, record industry. And it's very well done. I mean, it's Brian De Palma. It's unbelievably well shot. The performances are amazing, and its unique, interesting twist on the Phantom of the Opera is extremely engaging. The music is amazing in this, too. It is amazing. It is a wonderful film. If you have not seen Phantom of the Paradise, which another one I hear people like pretty much never talk about, it is a must, especially if you like the Phantom of the Opera storyline at all. It's a cool take on it. I think you definitely need to see it. So Phantom of the Paradise is my runner-up from 76. I'm sorry, 74. So that's it. That closes out the 1970s. I believe we will be doing the 1990s now, but I think we're going to take a little bit of time off to do that. I think we're taking off October. Might start sometime in November, but stay tuned. We'll figure that out. I might do like a channel update to let people know when that's coming. We'll see. I'm not sure. But for the years in these overall picks, the big winners were 1975 and 1979. And if you go and look at the films, the horror films released in those years, pretty stacked. There are some great picks in there. So it makes sense that 79 and 75 were the big winners. So anyway, thank you everyone for checking this out. Do me a favor, comment, give me your picks for the overall. Subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell button, all that stuff. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you for sticking with us on it. And until next time, keep it brutal.